Good morning. Welcome to the March 28th Commissioners' open meeting, and we're 2 hours later than normal because we all went to the Sheriff's Department training school graduation and awards ceremony at Pantherplex. But we all made it back, and we're ready to start. As usual, we will start with Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So Priority Carol, where'd you start last week?
I started last week.
Where?
With
Commissioner Gary.
So it's this side,
Yeah.
Commissioner Rothstein.
Okay, so thanks. And first thing on my mind is the catastrophe that occurred in Maryland, in Baltimore, with the Key Bridge. It's my understanding that they have recovered 2 from yesterday, but there are still 4 that are uncovered or not recovered, and they are going into salvage operations. So recovery operations are no longer. So with the hope in getting closure for those families, and understanding that their memories should always be a blessing to them and the community. Our governor, along with his team, federal government and city, are coming together along with all of Maryland to do what's best. Very proud of what our federal government stood up for as soon as this occurred. In the focus of the attention of this Key Bridge, it's now the focus is getting the lanes open, the shipping lanes, because the economy that it's going to impact is so dramatic, both in Baltimore, the region, and our country. So it's in all of our best interests to support all those efforts while keeping those that have passed in our thoughts. And I know we talked a little bit about it during agency briefings, but it continues to remind me how our public works folks put themselves in harm's way every time they go out on the streets, because the little white line that they're working behind doesn't stop bad things from happening. So just that's been on my mind a lot. And the governor is having I don't know, what do you call them, updates at 9:30 every morning for elected officials, so we can be aware of what is going on. We've been invited to participate, in their typically 20-minute briefings that the secretary and his team capture what's happening over the last 24 hours. So more news, we'll continue to share it.
And Commissioner
Yeah,
Rothstein, and Roberta, there is staff monitoring each one of those meetings. Anybody's
Yeah.
welcome to get on, but there are staff members monitoring it, and if something of substance pops up, we'll know it.
Yeah, no, thanks. This past week, I don't know if I talked about the Resiliency Education Center on Fort Meade, but I participated in an event with our citizen services, which are just phenomenal, the work they do, along with our health department and the work that they're doing, how they want to tie into the resiliency programs on Fort Meade, taking care of our service members, veterans, and all those that are involved over at Fort Meade and the agency, and just a lot of work. So how do you support a community like that? But it was a very, I thought, positive visit. And last, those that are celebrating, wishing a very supportive, whatever you say, blessed Good Friday, and a very happy Easter to those on Sunday. And with that, I will pass it on.
Mr. Bigliotti.
Thank you, Commissioner Kyler. I will associate myself with all of the comments that Commissioner Rothstein made so very well regarding the tragedy in Baltimore. As I said the other day, what affects one of us affects all of us because we are one Maryland, and everybody who is involved in either the tragedy or in the resuscitory efforts after the tragedy will be in my prayers. So along with my fellow commissioners, I attended the Sheriff's Academy graduation this morning. It's a privilege to be a small part of congratulating those who are soon going to be serving our community, and I pray that God blesses all of them. And over the weekend, I had the honor of attending the annual Tawnytown Easter egg hunt. Their Parks and Rec Director, Parks and Rec Committee, council members, and volunteers hid 4,000 eggs, and the kids found them all in about 60 seconds. So it was a very quick hunt. I also had the privilege of attending an Eagle Scout Court of Honor ceremony for Roland Brengel of Troop 393B at the VFW in Westminster. Mr. Brengel is an exceptional young man whose Eagle Scout project consisted of the refurbishing and the emplacement of a 3-inch 50 caliber naval gun at the VFW. He, along with his fellow scouts, secured the funding and provided much of the grunt work to install the gun. And among those present to congratulate Mr. Brengel were his parents, VFW Commander Gil Muse, and Westminster City Councilwoman Ann Gilbert. Mr. Brengel, you are a credit to our county and to our country. I also had the pleasure this week of attending this week's meeting on Commission on Aging and Disabilities. They are, as everybody knows, a wonderful group of people, and they're gearing up for spring and summer events, such as the grandparents event that they recently had and was a tremendous success. And I'll be sharing more information about those upcoming events as they get closer. I also want to note, Commissioner Rothstein, that they did talk about the trip to Fort Meade, and they complimented you on being a part of that. And Commissioner Guerin, you also got compliments for helping to support the Mount Airy's creation of the Commission on Aging for Mount Airy. So. And as everybody knows, I like to give credit wherever I can. I wish I could talk about every single member of that group, but I'm going to highlight Victoria Parks today, who announced yesterday that the Seniors on the Go Expo, which is slated this year for Thursday, September 12th, is going to be rebranded as Aging Your Way. And I thought that was quite clever and very relevant. And they also wanted me to convey that we're still looking for board members from the Manchester and Finksburg areas to come and be a part of things. So if you have interest on serving on the Commission on Aging and Disabilities, please do let us know. And lastly, Commissioner Kyler, time for the check on my gold and navy classic striped tie today. Approval, yes, no?
It is classic.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Almost as classic as you.
You didn't go to a prep school or something, did you?
For middle school, does Mother Seton count as a
I
prep
would
school?
say,
All right,
yes.
all right.
Yes.
We didn't have to wear ties, though. I had to wear a uniform. The ties are not part of it. That's all for me this morning. Thank you.
Commissioner Gordon.
Thank you. First and foremost, just want to echo my colleagues' comments regarding the bridge tragedy in Maryland. Obviously, first and foremost, the loss of life. As Commissioner Rothstein mentioned, they've found 2 of the bodies, and there's still 4 to be recovered. I think it says a lot about the state employees and those involved that were able, from that Mayday call, to be able to reroute traffic so we didn't have any more fatalities within that situation. And hearts go out to everyone involved with that. And also the significant economic impacts of what that will occur, not only nationally with that being a port, but also locally here at home when it comes to some of the products that will be brought into Carroll County agriculturally that may affect significantly the price of crops and things as the year progresses. And as Commissioner Vigliotti mentioned, all 5 of us this morning were in attendance at the sheriff's graduation for the 7th class. Always impressive to see our young people stepping up and joining law enforcement at a critical time when many people are either stepping away from that or questioning whether that's a career to make that choice. And I really appreciate all the hard work and dedication of everyone looking at career in law enforcement. On Saturday this past week, I was at the Read Across Maryland event. That was a well-attended event, even though it felt like monsoon season on Saturday. We had an excellent turnout. Myself and a number of other members of the community were there in attendance, got to read books to the kids. A wide group of organizations from the Sheriff's Department, Westminster Fire Department, Carroll County Public Library were all involved. And a big thank you to Penguin Random House for allowing donations for the kids, so they were able to each receive some books. Very well attended, a lot of opportunities and games. Liberty High School drama performed Annie that morning, as well as South Carroll High School performing a Seussical at 10:30. So it was just a great opportunity for the youth in the community, and was nice to see such an excellent turnout, even with some pretty tremendous weather on Saturday. Also, I just wanted to mention really briefly, March 25th was National Medal of Honor Day, which was founded in 1863 with the first award of 6 Medal of Honor recipients. To date, there's been 3,536 Medal of Honor awards that have been given out in our country, and I wanted to make mention of 2 in Carroll County. So the first was presented to John E. Buffington, who was a sergeant in Company C, 6th Maryland Infantry at Petersburg, Virginia, in April 2nd, 1865. He was the first enlisted man of the 3rd Division to mount the parapet on the enemy line during the Civil War. The second recipient was Sterling Galt, who was an officer in Company F, 36 Infantry, U.S. Volunteers, and that was in the Philippines on November 9th, 1899. He was for distinguished bravery and conspicuous gallantry in action against insurgents during the Philippine insurrection. So remarkably, we have 2 individuals from Carroll County that have received the Medal of Honor, and both were in Tawnytown. So kudos to Tawnytown for our 2 Medal of Honor recipients. And that's all for me this morning.
Mr. Garin.
Yeah, good morning, Carroll County. That is interesting. Thank you for that. Thanks, Commissioner Gordon. Just a couple quick things. That was one heck of a ceremony this morning for the Sheriff's Department graduation class number 7. Just a ton of work that goes into that. It was one heck of an event. So I know I share a sentiment of my fellow commissioners in the whole county, and when I say thank you to the sheriff for that. I want to wish everybody a very happy Easter. Kind of snuck up on us this year. It's early, so happy Easter to everybody. And I want to wish my wife a happy birthday. She has a birthday tomorrow. I wouldn't dare say what year, but she's younger than me, so that's
Happy
much younger
birthday to
than me.
her.
Yes, so happy birthday, Chris, and that's all for me.
Thank you. And I'll just touch a little bit on this morning with the Sheriff's Training Award graduation and annual awards. We've kind of already covered the event, and it is a lot of planning, and it goes off very well. Of interest, everybody's mentioned the tragedy with the bridge, and Phil and Cindy Mulligan gave away an award on stage today, and I grabbed them and talked quickly at the end. And they had tragically lost their daughter in, drunk driver accident many years ago. But of interest, Phil is and he'll kill me. He's an expert on ships and pilots, and he had just talked to some people about it the night before the disaster. And he told me quickly this morning, this social media junk, he goes, ships don't have reverse. You stop the engines and reverse the engines. And all these people that say they're easy to steer, he goes, they've never been in one. He said, so, and I told him, I said, this is interesting timing for you. You could straighten us all out. But I just wanted to say hi to them and thank them for all they've done since they've lost their daughter. Last week I wasn't here. I was here virtually, which only counts half. I was in Kansas City, NCAA wrestling most of the week, and it's awesome to see the young athletes and the competitiveness. Because of COVID, there's 5- and 6-year wrestlers there. So it makes it even more competitive, and it's the same in other sports. It makes it more competitive for everybody. And, but it's a great time, and we got to see a lot of people, and got to have Kansas City barbecue and steaks, and it was a great time. Last night I was at the Community College Trustees meeting, always a great meeting, and they're having similar budget challenges to us and Blueprint and everything else. I wanted to mention before we start our items, we do have a couple people here. When we get to that agenda item, it's not question and answer. If you want to speak, you need to fill out a card in the back and give it to Roberta, and you can have 3 minutes to speak. And I just wanted to say that ahead of time. Thanks for coming. And anything else, Priority Carol?
Just happy Easter.
Yes, happy Easter. That was, and you guys both made that point. It's any of the family type holidays are great. You know, you get to see everybody, and you're right. I hear a lot of people, Easter's in March, but it's here.
Hey, without speaking out of turn, I mean, I don't know, Chris, if you could zoom in on Mr. Burke's tie. There's so much value in the celebration and brightness of spring and Easter that could be provided to the entire community in our county. And if not, maybe we can just like plaster that tie somewhere and show it to the world. But I just want to say from me to you, thank you. And you just brighten my day.
And-
Just call it
and
like it is.
A couple things. One, I assume none of us can really talk out of turn, so
Yeah, well.
you made it through. Thanks for wearing the tie, because I thought him speaking out of turn, one of your books was Hop on Pop, and I assumed we were going to do age discrimination or something. So
I'm not gonna hop on him.
I'm glad that didn't happen. Item 1, legislative update. Thank you, Mr. Fowler.
Hop on Pop happens to be my favorite, Dr. Seuss.
That was a goodie.
How you doing, Mike?
Good, good. So, we have a week from Monday, and
Yep.
we'll be finished this journey. Of course, the last few days have been dominated by the issues around the bridge, so there really hasn't been a lot that's occurred between the last time we talked. I'll start, as I usually do, that our bills are obviously moving. The only one in question is this withholding of permits for unpaid taxes. The Ways and Means Committee is a secondary committee, House committee that looks at that. They had some questions for us about current law and how this may fit. So we're answering their questions and hopefully can get them to move that bill through. Of course, the budget is still the big thing that's hanging out there. The capital budget was on the floor today just to be introduced, on the Senate floor to be introduced, and it's held over until tomorrow when the senators will have an opportunity to offer amendments to that. The operating budget, though, obviously is still in play. The conference committees have been established, and they're at work trying to iron this out. No real details out there yet about what agreement they're going to come to. I would suspect that the president was pretty adamant in his in what were non-starters for him. So I would suspect that an end product probably does not include combined reporting, but that remains to be seen.
When is the budget normally done?
The 1st of April, so that would be Monday,
Monday.
right? Right. So it's going to be a busy weekend for them.
And are they working all weekend?
They will.
Yeah, that's what I
will,
figured.
yeah. And the governor submitted a supplemental budget where he added $23 million for education. We don't have the breakdown on that from a county perspective. It includes more money for pre-K, for CTE, Blueprint, transition, and compensatory education. They also, and it's based on revised enrollment numbers. So that's 23 million across all 24 jurisdictions. So as soon as we get that, that breakdown, we'll make that available to everybody. One development on the land use and zoning aspect of the governor's housing package, and that was the one where we had the concerns about the adequate facilities. That's actually been amended out of the bill now. So the county AFPOs or adequate PFOs will now apply to any project that's proposed. Which was interesting because it sounded like a lot of the discussion on the amendments that came forward from delegates yesterday were addressing that. They must not have realized that that had been amended out of the bill. And it also lowered the required affordable housing percentage in those projects that are proposed on former state property. So we're talking about Warfield. Was reduced from a required 50% down to 25%. So it looks like they really watered down the bill quite a bit. Also, conference committee established on the cannabis zoning bill, so nothing yet on that. I failed to mention the food processing residuals permit bill last week, but I know you had citizens in that talked about that. One of the questions was, when will that bill take effect? It will be passed, but it'll take effect in October. So that still leaves this entire growing season unaddressed by any state action. And one of our favorite bills, the health framework bill, was heard in the Senate committee yesterday. Again, we don't know if that's going to make it through the Senate or not, but we'll keep an eye out. So I think there's going to be a lot of work done here in the next couple of days on the budget. Hopefully by Monday that will be finalized. And as to everything else, it's going to be a scramble like it always is in the last week. And not everything that we think might make it may not, because Sine Die is, if you've ever watched Sine Die, there's an awful lot of discussion and debate intended to slow everything down. So if there's something that leadership really wants, it's going to be early in the day. But anything that lingers, there's a lot of opportunity to kill bills that way. So-
The money that was taken from community colleges, I think there's talk of reducing that to 1/2. Is that just part of the budget discussion, or is that a separate issue?
As part of the budget
That's just
discussion.
part of the budget.
Yes. And there was another thing really related to the bridge. You probably saw Senator Ferguson wants to cobble together some legislation to try to deal with some of the wage losses that the port workers are going to experience. So where that money will come from,
Yeah.
we'll see. I would suspect rainy day fund, perhaps. But then, of course, the bridge also complicates the issues around transportation in the budget. I think everybody was happy to hear the pledges from the federal government about that, but we still have a lot of transportation issues. You know, that was the route that all hazardous materials took to and from the port. And so now they're going to have to be routed around the Baltimore Beltway. So we have a lot of challenges,
So the bottom line on taxes is that income taxes looks like not going to happen this year, maybe next year. But the
Fees.
bill that came out of the House, what are the prospects for that passing?
Well, that was incorporated into the budget
So
by the
that's-
House.
Yes.
Right. So the bill is really sitting out there and won't be moved. That concept will be moved within the budget,
Okay.
right?
So that's going to happen.
Yes, the word is that, and always has been, that the vehicle registration fees, the tolls, the additional fees on electric cars because they don't pay the gas tax, those are likely all going to stay.
And what about all the, I mean, it seemed like there were hundreds of them, but the additional things that would be have a sales tax on them as a result of this.
It's my understanding that's off the table
It didn't,
as
okay,
well.
good.
But not to say that it won't
Okay,
appear based on these discussions.
so we're looking at some substantial fee increases. At worst case scenario right now is we're looking at fee increases.
Right.
That all go to the state, all that money goes to the state.
Goes to the state, and a lot of it is earmarked for transportation. Well, yeah, a lot of, the tolls, obviously, and the registration fees.
Okay, thank you.
And so I won't necessarily wait till next Thursday to feed whatever comes out. I mean, you'll have some media reports too, but I'll get to you anything I learn in the interim.
One of the things that you were saying, not necessarily, not in discussion with this, but regarding the bridge and regarding the port, is workers that are going to need assistance, unemployment, and they said, well, the good news is they put in capabilities during COVID. Department of Labor was really not prepared to meet the demands during COVID. Now they are much better, which will help and assist those workers that are on the port, or on the docks that are going to be out of work. I mean, that's just the facts. And so to me, it's just amazing how they're multitasking in so many directions to meeting those demands, getting the shipping lanes open, because it's going to hit us in the pockets real fast. So, yeah, just,
Yeah, and clearing that channel has to be done with the understanding that there are still people there somewhere.
Well, I think,
And they believe they're under the superstructure of the bridge.
yeah,
so-
I think the way it was described yesterday from the state was they're done with that. They're into salvage. They're not into recovery anymore. And they're bringing in the cranes, and the Coast Guard Admiral was talking about the cranes coming in, and it's unfortunate that the two were found in a vehicle, but it's too dangerous for them to go into the water around the infrastructure. So it went from search rescue to recovery to salvage operations.
Certainly, there's some super crane that they used to free that ship that was stuck
Yeah.
down in the bay earlier. So they have the capability to do it, but what a monumental task.
But,
And all those ancillary businesses, too,
Yeah.
that are built
Absolutely.
around the port that
yeah.
people partake in.
Whoever
so.
brought up social media, I don't know if you did earlier, one of the comments that was made during the press conference, and I'm not usually too flattering of the Baltimore mayor or some of the things he says, but he said something very important, and that was get off of social media. There's too many folks that think that they're ship drivers and mechanics and all these people that know, and their conspiracy theories and all these things happening on social media. And he's like, get the facts. He goes, we're having these press conferences for a reason, to get the specific facts out. And, you just watch it. It's like telephone operator, how this social media, and it happens in this county. It happens in the
It's
region. It happens in the
political.
state.
It's weird.
So I did appreciate that. He's like, if you got a question, get the facts. So, and typically they're not on our favorite social media, smartphones, or whatever. So, okay.
And related, but back to Carroll County, which I don't know if I've said yet, I love Carroll County. Hopefully, we can get ahead of some of this food processing
Yeah.
residual. That is, and later we'll talk about agenda for the next 2 weeks, but that is on the agenda next week for us to talk about what we can and can't do to help that situation. And at this point, we can assume this is going to pass, but it's not going to they're not going to do an emergency.
No,
So it's
it'll be October 1st.
problems.
So
This season
this
isn't
summer is gonna
regulated
be
yet, other
challenging.
than what's already in the regulations, which the people doing this aren't following, so.
apparently,
That's
it's
a
big
whole
enough to
other-
drive a truck through, no pun intended.
Yeah.
A big loophole there, apparently. They're
Okay. Now, on the 8th, do you stay there till midnight, or?
It depends. Depends on who's buying.
If there's a brown beverage in your hand or not?
Depends on who's buying, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. If our bills are in good shape and the ones we're concerned about are in good shape, maybe I'll go visit Mrs. Fowler earlier, but we'll do what's necessary. How about that?
And we did not go down this Wednesday, but May,
Yeah,
next
maybe
Wednesday,
on Wednesday,
if it looks meaningful.
if we're allowed to.
There'll be a lot going on, so,
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Wednesday looks promising.
okay, good, good.
Yep.
All right, I'll
Okay.
keep the light on.
Any questions, guys?
Thank you as always, Mike.
All right?
Thank you. Item 2, exercise option to purchase Critical Farms. Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
Commissioners.
morning to you both.
How's everybody this morning?
Doing well, thank you. What about you?
I'm here. I don't know, did I look okay virtually or not so much?
Not so much.
Only when you showed your best side.
You always look
You
good,
could
right?
figure out what that was.
Wait, so he looked his best when he didn't show his not good. Wait, did I follow that?
Yeah, you're on top of it.
Oh, my.
All right, Commissioners, good morning.
Morning.
We're here this morning to request final approval for a Critical Farms program for David Swain and Grace Garst. I think we have Mr. Swain and Ms. Garst with us this morning. Glad to see you guys here. David Swain and Grace Garst are contract purchasers for property located at Stone Cipher Road in Tawnytown at 43.95 acres. There are 5 lot rights we'll be retiring, and this is located in District 1. The appraised value was $615,400, and the purchase price was $440,000. The cost to the county is $231,000, which is 52.5% of the purchase price, which is lower than the appraised value. This is where the farm sits off Stone Cipher Road in relation to other eased properties. The picture along Stone Cipher Road of the fields out front. Once again, we're here for David Swain and Grace Garst contract purchasers, Stone Cipher Road, Tawnytown, 43.95 acres, 5 lot rights to retire in District 1, at a cost of $231,000 for the county. So we're here today for your approval of this Critical Farms contract.
And there were several questions raised last week that I think have all been answered via email. I don't know whether anybody still has any questions or not.
Yeah, the questions that I had about acreage, about the division, about the lack of, or the seeming lack of buildings have all been addressed to my satisfaction. So I will make a motion to exercise the option to purchase for David Swain and Grace Garst through the Critical Farms program in the amount of $231,000.
I'll second it.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further questions, discussions?
Has the cost to the county hasn't changed since last week, is that right?
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I know this was added to the agenda just a couple days ago. I guess at the request of one of my fellow commissioners that we just put it back on here. I guess I'm still concerned because it's not a farm, and we've got a limited amount of money, and it's below what my understanding is of the 75-acre requirement. I mean, I don't think anything's changed since last week.
There's
regarding
no
that, is there?
75-acre requirement, but I don't know whether we want to address
So
it.
I'm assuming none of that's changed since last week, am I right? I mean, that's still the same.
Everything's the same.
Okay. This is the exact same item from last week.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And Commissioner Garrett, if I may allay, or try to allay at least one of your concerns about the field. The gentleman and the woman who are interested in pursuing this property, they have their buildings and everything in the center. They intend to farm the property full-time. It's, so it's not just going to be a field. It is going to be a working farm for
Can you
them.
show the slide again and show where they live?
Sure. I don't think you can see my cursor, but if you look at the indentation on the red outlined property, that's their farm buildings.
Can you go back a slide?
I think it shows, yeah.
There you go,
that's-
sorry.
Yeah.
So that's all the infrastructure.
So that's where they live.
Yes, sir.
which in some traditional things could have been part of the property, but you would have taken it out anyway because that's the procedure.
Well, it's going to be added into the application for the state. So it will go in.
But it doesn't count as acreage you're reimbursing them for.
Oh, no, no,
Yeah.
only the acreage that we have here today, 43.9. And that's the hub of their business, their agricultural business.
I mean, this is a beautiful piece of property, correct?
Yes, sir.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what this is. I mean,
It is.
The percentage of the property that's tillable, that's usable, that they want to farm, I mean, it's, because,
Yeah, it's over 90%.
yeah, we don't see that, you know? So it's a target of opportunity to, you know, you're looking at a challenge maybe with an acreage size or whatever, but to see something so pristine, in a sense, it doesn't come across very often. And we're going to be challenged in finding properties like this that want to be preserved. And I mean, that's what's swaying me. And you know, you shared that last week as well. That's a large part of this, so, okay.
Thank you.
Couple quick things, if I might. In reference to this property, it's a great piece of property. I'm not going to debate that or argue that or have any negative opinions on that, and I appreciate the folks coming in and trying to put this in Ag Pres, I really do. What concerns me, though, is when we look at the criteria for all the different programs, there are portions of this that this does not meet. We can debate that it's a great property, we can talk about the type of land, I'm not going to debate that. But what concerns me on a larger scale is that we have a critical farms program, which is supposed to be for critical farms when that was set up. It was supposed to be for properties that were imminently facing development. And that is something that for decades that has been in place going back to Bill Powell and everyone else involved in that process. What concerns me is, and I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole too much here, and a little bit of history though, this property was originally part of a larger property that was reconfigured or subdivided 7 times. So and the property owner had that right to do, and I'm never going to debate that because that is the property owner's right. But what concerns me is we're seeing larger properties for various reasons, and they have that right to reconfigure or subdivide to where we're ending up with these smaller portions. So that is a concern to me when we're seeing this happen, but that has nothing to do specifically to this exact moment. The other thing I am going to bring up this morning, though, is for many years we had an annual process where we would rank properties, not necessarily just with critical, but under the standard Carroll County Ag Pres. So once annually, those properties would be ranked and the top groupings would be picked. To my understanding from both the department, that right now we're doing rolling process. So if it comes in, potentially it goes right in. We aren't doing that annual ranking. My concern is from a taxpayer standpoint, are we taking just what's coming in the door, which may be perfectly a good property, and I'm not going to debate that, but if we're grabbing that, is there something else that may come in next month that we're going to run out of money for? Because there are going to be times we don't have enough funding, be it from us or whoever else within that program. So I kind of question if we shouldn't take a hard look at process, be it critical farms and how those specific details are used. I don't care if it's procedures, rules, regulations, whatever we want to define it as, but I think we need to lock those down because we are utilizing not only our taxpayer money, but also money from the state. And there has been in the past significant years when there has not been enough funding. So to me, those are 2 huge issues I think this board needs to take up, and that's something that I'm not really comfortable with at this time, given how things have progressed within the last number of years.
And I would just like to mention, I haven't heard they've turned anything down because of lack of money yet. I've said maybe 6 times, some in closed, some in open. We have one-time money, and if something pops up that is very valuable to the Ag Pres program, we need to talk about it and use some of that one-time money or fund balance money and probably proceed. So I don't see this as an either-or. That's my personal opinion.
Well,
And history's great, and we need to learn from history, but this program's been around a long time, and we need to adjust to the times as we go through it, too. And I look at this as a very farmable piece of ground. Somebody needs this program to be able to purchase it and farm it. It could be 5 lots, and I'd much rather see it farmed. So that's my opinion on it.
So first question, has properties been turned down because of money constraints? Have we turned away?
There's been times in the past where we have to hold applications because we don't have enough money, or we send enough applications to the state
Right.
where the land values and the amount of money won't cover all the properties. You know, so, you know, even now, to address Commissioner Gordon, you know, we're holding applications because of money.
Right.
And there will be, you know, talk at the advisory board for, you know, holding things. All the farms do get ranked. There's been a lot of, most instances in the past that no matter the ranking, we've had the money to preserve the farms, but they all do get ranked. They all get sent to the state in ranked order.
So, yeah, and that leads actually to the same question that was about the annual rankings. Are they ranked as they come in, or are they ranked in a certain period of time, and here are the rankings of X amount of properties?
They're basically ranked right away, and I think,
Okay.
if you can correct me, we've been giving the rankings recently, at least in closed session.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Any more discussion?
No, I'll just very briefly say that with respect to the acreage, and looking at the website, it says that preference will be given to 60 acres plus, but this is more or less 44, so it's not that much of a difference. And to the points I think that Commissioner Rothstein and Commissioner Kyler have alluded to before, and I think Commissioner Gordon to one point too, you know, the larger farms that we're certainly interested in, those are not as common as they used to be. A number of them have either been developed or already are in AgPres. And given that, I mean, you can see how close this particular property is to Tawnytown, to the actual municipality itself. And for a piece of property that size, that close to the city, I would argue, is large, considering its position and its juxtaposition to the city. So, you know, I have no concern whatsoever about supporting this.
Thank you.
I'd like to mention one quick thing in reference to that with Commissioner Vigliotti, though. So we're looking at almost, I don't know, what is that, 17 acres from it being, what, 60, I guess? I'll go back to my comment earlier, though. If we want to adjust whatever we want to call it, rules, regulations, fine, let's have that conversation and do it. I'm not saying pro or con on that. I just think we need to have a process, and yes, there should be some flexibility in the process, but I think we need to at least have it within a little bit of more of a guidance, because to me, and this is not critical to the parties that own it or the parties looking to obtain this property, but if 60 is the low-end number, let's just go by the number, 43 and 60, it's 17 acres. If it was, I don't know,
Did
55.
you hear what he said?
No, I did.
It says higher priority will be given to 60 acres.
I understand
It
that.
doesn't say 60.
And I know we've gone under 60
Any kind
before.
of a limit.
I understand that, and I know we've gone under those limits before. I just think that if we're going to have process, let's have process. I mean, it doesn't have to be
But
60.
we're following the process.
I'm just saying, if we're going to have a number, let's stick closer, whatever those numbers are. Why have any numbers? I mean, do we want to do a 20-acre property at some point? I'm just asking the question.
I think
I don't know.
there might be a 20-acre one that suits. It would get less of a priority than 60, but it doesn't say it can't happen.
Well,
Yeah, I've said that before. I don't want to see a bunch of charts and graphs that tie our hands on something. I like the idea that it says a higher priority.
I agree with, Commissioner Gordon, about the processes. I absolutely. The percentage, the guidelines for percentage to go into the program is what?
Percentage of,
Farmable, good property.
The
Oh,
soils and things.
Yeah, the soils,
and
yeah.
well, soils has to be at least 50% class 1, 2, and 3 soils.
Right.
As far as percentage, we want a large percentage of it to be farmable.
And define-
75%-ish, right around in there.
Okay, yeah, so fortunate, and you're saying this is 90%.
It's like 92 or 94.
So if it was 75% of 60, I mean, we'd get to this type of property, but I do believe we should have processes and maybe clean them up, especially as this program is maturing over time, because we are going into a situation where the last 15,000 acres, or whatever it may be, or 20,000 acres, is going to be harder and harder. I don't mean to lower the standards, because you don't want to do that either, but we need to refine it. So we're looking at competitive properties. This is competitive because, to me, it's 92%. So if I was to say, okay, if it's 60 acres, what's 75% of 60 acres? I don't know. But let's say it's this amount.
40-some.
So I think we'd be hitting the target just by that type. But I do agree, we need and ask you to refine some of the
Metrics?
metrics or ways we're looking at this. Regardless, this is the right property because of the amount that is farmable. But I think we need to look.
I agree
at
with
it.
Commissioner Gordon on that point as well.
And I agree with that, but we also need not to violate the process. The board, those present voted unanimously to do this. We voted to proceed with this property. That would have, in my opinion, that would have been the time to say, I'm sorry, it doesn't meet criteria, not today.
Oh, I'm not saying that we're taking away from this.
No, I'm saying
moving
if we're going to
forward.
develop a process, we need to follow it. If we're not going to follow it, then
Right.
who cares?
No,
what it
I'm
says?
saying after this is settled down, that you come up with a recommendation on how to move forward if we are going to be, I won't say more lenient, but changing some of the numbers, maybe to a 55 acre or 50 acre, whatever it may be, because it's going to get more difficult. And we all know that, but I'm not saying take away from this opportunity, so.
Commissioner
still
Guerin, I
in
think you
favor.
wanted to say
Yeah, I
something?
just, I agree with those comments, and I think that consensus was reached by a majority of the board last week as well, so that's what we'll be looking for, because I think that's the reason why this particular property, I mean, we have been going around internally and externally about this property for a couple of months now, and I think that's the reason, and you're hearing that today. This is taxpayer money. This is Carroll County taxpayer money. And we should be questioning everything. I'm going to question everything, and I don't care if it's part of the quote-unquote budget or not, or we have the money or not. We have to be asking this question every single time. It's a significant amount of money. So going forward, I still have reservations, but I can understand and appreciate some of the comments from my colleagues that at least going forward, we're going to have a better understanding early on in the process. I think when this was first brought to us, and I can't remember the exact date, it seems like it might have been last year when we first
In
heard about it.
August.
Was it in August? I'm not making excuses for anybody up here, but still pretty early for some of us. We're still trying to get our hands around things. So I think you've got your mandate to, I'm going to say mandate, it sounds like a cool word, but you've got your mandate to go back and,
Is it an unfunded one? I'm just, no. I'm just-
oh, yeah, it's what's funded anymore, right? But, well, I mean, if
Get
it's.
with the in-crowd, go with
I
unfunded.
guess the big question is if a bunch of commissioners ask for it, does it ask anymore? But, does it matter anymore? But,
Sorry.
yeah, being a little cynical. But, so, yeah, let's make sure going forward. I think we're looking for a better understanding of the process and guidelines, whatever you want to call them.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any more questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
3-2, it passes. Thank you guys for all your
Thank you.
work.
Thank you
and,
very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And we'll be seeing you again.
Yes, sir. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you guys chose not to make public comment. Have you changed your mind, or you're fine?
We just want to thank everybody for the process.
Yep.
Thank you for coming in.
Okay, item 3, approval of maintenance contract for a Kohler generator. Now we get into the exciting stuff.
Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
I should start saying Happy Easter to everybody, shouldn't I? Or no, that's not,
Yeah,
that's not
you're a
apropos.
little premature.
Oh, yeah.
Say Happy
You-
Monday,
you can-
Thursday.
We want-
You should come in Friday, and everybody
Thursday's
in the
out.
building,
Good
you can wish
Thursday,
them
right?
Happy Easter.
Good Thursday, is it? Hold on,
might
holy.
do that.
I think he's trying to set you up, but who knows, you know?
It wouldn't be the first time.
Not a happy.
Okay. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Utilities, requests your approval to award a contract to Fidelity Power Systems in the amount of $42,722 for a maintenance contract for a Kohler generator at the Hampstead Wastewater Treatment Plant. Recognizing that the remaining maintenance plan exceeds the $25,000 threshold for spending authority, we are now bringing this before the board for approval. The installment costs are shown below. The yearly installment and terms are subject to approval by the Bureau of Utilities and are subject to the availability of funds. The current amount is within the approved budget. This generator was installed as part of the Hampstead Wastewater Treatment Plant ENR upgrade. The maintenance contract will provide for routine maintenance, including semi-annual visits for preventative maintenance, annual fluid analysis, and an annual 2-year load bank testing. This routine maintenance will help maintain the life of the generator and hopefully identify any issues that may be in its beginning stages.
Andy, before you start, the board, I recommend that we award Fidelity Power Systems a maintenance contract in the amount of $42,722 for Kohler generator located at Hampstead Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we get to talk about proposed or recommended water and sewer rates.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners.
Good
Happy-
morning.
Happy Thursday, how about that? In working in conjunction with the Comptroller's Office and the Department of Management and Budget, we are here to present the FY25 recommended utility rates. To continue to keep up with our aging infrastructure, water conservation efforts, and rising costs, we are recommending an average rate increase of 4% across water and sewer. This affects the average users in these areas by approximately $12 a quarter. Some of the things this covers are ongoing operating costs, costs for water and sewer rehab projects, pump replacements, and one of our big projects that we're planning next year, the Liberty Tank Booster Pump, which will provide a redundant water source in the Freedom District. At this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions. I have Andy here to answer any project specifics, and the Comptroller and Department of Budget is behind me for any budget specifics.
Do we feel like we're keeping up with maintenance and expansion? Do we have anything looming that could really hit this hard, or we're kind of constant?
Yeah, no, we're in really good shape. I think the fund is in really good shape. We had a pretty big increase last year, which got us caught up, and I think this 4% increase puts us where we need to be to keep up with the times.
Okay, so whose bills are going up?
Yeah, mine.
Ms. Wyndham's are going up?
Mine is,
So the Freedom District
Yeah.
has water and sewer. So breaking it down a little bit, not to get into the weeds too much, the water rate is going up 1.73. So again, if you're a customer that only has water from us, it's going to go up about 2%. And the sewer rate is going up just shy of 6%, 5.7. So the folks in Hampstead will see a 5.7% increase.
Ouch.
So the water systems are, the big one is the Freedom area.
Right.
There's also Bark Hill and Pleasant Valley.
Hampstead.
Yeah. And then sewer in.
in Hampstead, yeah. What was the, last year, what was the increase?
10%.
And that was to catch up to what we did not do years before.
Correct.
It's frustrating when you have to play catch-up because the sticker shock is just painful.
Yep.
And, you know, we're going to do the same thing. I mean, we got to maintain the continuation necessary of these rates, or else a few years down the road, we're gonna have sticker shock again. And then people are gonna be like, oh, instead of $12, it's $40 a quarter. So, I mean, oh, I'll definitely hear about it, you know, because it's significant. I won't say we will hear about it, but it's a necessity. And we gotta do it in pace with everything else going around, and that's something we didn't do last time.
And one of the reasons I ask about keeping up with maintenance, this is an enterprise fund. If these fees don't change, then the general fund, every taxpayer in Carroll County is gonna get to pay for water and sewer they don't use, possibly.
Yeah, there could be a situation where we would take a loan from the general fund.
But you think we're pretty covered and moving okay?
Yeah, I think that was the opinion of the comptroller's office and the Department of Management and Budget.
Do you have the ability to look ahead? Like, you know, we try to budget 5 years down the road. Do you have the ability to look ahead, and can you forecast what the next couple of years rate increases might look like, if there are any?
Yeah, so we have, we do what we call a smoothing sheet. So, you know, there's gonna be high years and low years, and we try to strike a nice balanced line between there. 3% is probably an average increase, I would say, if you look at the last 10 years. Something that's really been hurting us that, you know, projects aside and aging infrastructure aside, is water conservation. People are using less water, which means less fees are coming in for us. So kind of a double-edged sword there. You know, we want them to conserve water. You know, we want to do all those good things. But that means they're not using as much water as they did the year before and the year before that. So that's one of the big unknowns as we proceed and do the forecast for the next 5 years.
I'm not sure how I should take when you said aging and you pointed over this way, so.
He was just gesticulating. Don't
I'm
take-
not sure what he was doing, but FY '25, so can we, like Commissioner Guerin was going, can we forecast this out and make a approval for the following years? Or is this something you need to come back to us?
So what I'm
year.
really interested in doing next year, and it's going to be one of the Department of Public Works capital project requests, is to audit the whole system, audit our rate structure, audit our fees, see where we are in relationship to other counties, look at the relationship we have with the city and how that works with buying raw water. So one of the projects you'll probably see before your next budget cycle is, you know, getting somebody on board to help us with an audit.
And can I ask really quick, the request for the 4% rate increases, are those already factored into the recommended budget for FY '25, or is this something, depending on the vote today, that would adjust the FY '20? Oh, here comes Ted. I summoned him.
Now, important question, and actually something I neglected to talk about when we went through the recommended budget. The expenditure side is in place, but the revenues are not. So the enterprise fund, as you saw, it was actually unbalanced. This would bring it into balance.
Thank you very
Ted.
much.
So I'll move the board approve the water and sewer rate schedule with an average water usage rate increase 4% and an average sewer usage rate increase of 4% with the FY '25 budget adoption.
Second?
One more question. So Hampstead has their water, but Carroll County sewerage. What other areas do people only pay for one side or the other?
It's just a really small system, Bark Hill.
Bark Hill has water only, but no sewer.
Okay.
Where's that? Where's
Bark Hill, it's in the northwest part of the county.
Okay.
It's near Key High School.
Okay.
And as a result of contamination?
I believe it's due to a landfill, old landfill that's no longer in use.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Thank you.
No, I'm a no. I just.
You're a no?
Yeah, I'm a no.
Okay.
I'm a no. I want to understand this more going forward. It sounds like it's going to be an issue.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 5 is approval to submit application and accept award Wakefield Valley Restoration Design.
Good morning to both of you.
Good morning. Right, so as you said, Commissioner, we are here this morning to ask for your approval to submit a grant application to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. to support the design of 2 stormwater management facilities in the Wakefield Valley area. I want to say 2 years ago, we went after funding from the same agency to fund a watershed study in Little Pipe Creek. Out of that watershed study, these 2 projects were identified as potential restoration projects. The first project is located at Wakefield Valley Park. It is looking to convert an existing water feature that was part of the golf course into a stormwater management facility that would treat currently untreated runoff from the parking lot as well as structures on the site. We also feel that given its location, it would be a good education and outreach tool for those coming to the park and utilizing the walking path and other amenities that are there. The second project is located not far from this one, and is an existing stormwater facility in the Eagle Crest subdivision. So as it states, we're not asking for any county match. This is a project that if it's funded by NIFWIF, we will move forward with getting design engineers on board. If it's not, we will table this until we incorporate it into our budget.
So the grant does not require any matching funds from there, just so I'm perfectly clear, there's no?
Correct.
Both facilities are in the county's to maintain now and after this gets done.
So both facilities, well, one is an existing stormwater facility, the other is what was a water feature for the golf course. They're both located in the city of Westminster. So the city is maintaining both facilities, one as part of the park and one as part of their infrastructure. So maintenance would stay with the city, given
Even
that
after
they
this
own the
project.
property long-term, yes.
And they have provided letters of support from the mayor and also Department of Recreation and Parks at the city.
The 140,000 for anticipated design cost, is that being covered, that's being covered what, solely by the grants, or is that being covered by, okay.
Solely by the grant.
I'm just looking at the columns, okay.
So this type of work, this does go towards our NPDES certification?
That is
moving forward, right?
correct.
Okay.
So, as I mentioned, we had gone after grant funds previously from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation to fund a watershed study in the Little Pipe Creek watershed here in Westminster, looking to identify potential projects for restoration to meet our permit requirements. And the Center for Watershed Protection identified these as well as other projects that would be potential restoration projects to get us that impervious credit that will help us meet our MPDS permit requirements. We thought both of these projects, they were not on our radar, but after, reviewing the report and going out in the field, looking at them, meeting with Abby from the city of Westminster here at the park site, it looked like they would be great candidates for restoration. And with the timing of this grant, it kind of fit right in, and it allowed us to move a study into potential implementation, which when we met, Kelly and I, with the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation representative, that's something that they look for, those kind of tangible outcomes that are coming from a previous item that they funded. So, we're hopeful on this one. Obviously, we won't be the only ones looking for funding for projects, but, we do feel like we have a good shot at it.
You're the best one looking.
So I agree. I agree with your reasoning there. I brought this up before. I'll be bringing this up during the budget sessions we're about to engage in. But these projects are very costly, which I understand. But the pace of which we're pursuing some of them is what concerns me, because they are so expensive. $3.5 million for FY25. I mean, these CIP projects are expensive, and the argument that it's just one-time costs doesn't really carry water, no pun intended, because as every single year we're doing this. I mean, we're out to FY30 spending over, in some cases, over $3.5 million on these types of projects. So I understand that hopefully these types of grants save us money in the design costs, but the, what I'm trying to get my head around is how much of what we're talking about here with these two projects will be done in FY25, or is this further down the road that these would actually be initiated? I mean, you haven't even gotten this done yet, so I guess I'm...
Correct. So, you know, I think it's our hope that sometime in FY25, we will initiate the design process. More than likely, it'll take over a year for those design plans to come to fruition. We will have to get some permitting, especially for the one at the park, because it is an existing wet facility. That takes, you know, 6 to 9 months in itself. Some of it we can run concurrently with the design process. You know, but then there are opportunities for us to go after funding for construction too. You know, and it's one of those where there is a lot of funding out there for these types of water quality improvement projects. And when you're building off of previous projects that have gotten grant funding, you know, they do support those. So we're, you know, Kelly is actively seeking funds to support our program, and any chance we get to go after those funds for projects to offset CIP expenditures, we're doing so.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the submittal of the grant application and acceptance of award to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation for the Wakefield Valley Restoration Design Project.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, submit an application acceptance awards for George's Murphy Run Restoration Opportunities.
All right.
I like it. They're opportunities.
So we try, you know, whenever we go after grant funding, there are multiple outcomes that are stated in the request for proposals. So we try to check as many boxes as we can, making our applications look more desirable to the funding agency. As you stated, Commissioner, we are looking to submit another application to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation for technical assistance, this time partnering with the Center for Watershed Protection to do a watershed study in the George's Murphy Run. So this is a section of the county that kind of runs from northern Hampstead to southern Manchester on the east side of Maryland Route 30. It is a use class 3 watershed, which means that it is high quality water in our county, naturally trout spawning. There are temperature requirements that we need to achieve in that watershed anytime we do a restoration project, which can sometimes be more challenging. But we are, you know, we're hopeful to go after grant funding to do a watershed study here in the George's Murphy Run watershed, identify potential restoration projects, whether they be in the county, in the town of Manchester, or in the town of Hampstead. But a second component of this application is looking at our outreach and how we engage with businesses in our community to become clean watershed stewards. So we are responsible for inspecting stormwater management facilities, whether they're county-owned or owned by a private entity, business, or industrial. And oftentimes, there are opportunities to educate these business owners on the facilities as part of, you know, maybe long-term maintenance or compliance issues. So we're asking for the Center for Watershed Protection's expertise in kind of revamping our program and looking at how we can support businesses in our community to be clean watershed stewards, and just helping them recognize, you know, every time they empty a grease trap or their grease container outside of their structure, making sure it gets into that appropriate receptacle, because even if a little bit spills the next time it rains, that runoff is going somewhere, and, will eventually end up in our local streams and waterways. So that's just kind of a tiny instance, but we're looking to do both here.
I'll make a motion to approve the submittal of the grant application and acceptance of award to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation for the Georges Murphy Run Restoration Opportunities Project.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Opposed?
you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Chris, do we have any public comment?
I have no one on the line, sir.
Okay, open admin, does anybody have anything they want to discuss in open admin?
Just that brief reminder that you had touched on earlier about the DAF sludge item being on next week's agenda. So if anybody's interested in that, please write to us or come. That's it.
Anything else?
Yeah, yeah, that's an interesting topic because we've got the benefit of taking a look at what Caroline County did, and we talked a lot about that last week. So I am a firm believer, and I think everybody here is, you work smarter, not harder, if you can. So we've commandeered a lot of their ideas out there in Caroline County, and that's what we will be discussing, I think, next week in detail. So if people are interested in that issue, if you want to take a look at what's going on in Carroll County, you may not find a whole lot, but if you want to get a lot of background on what we'll be discussing, I would encourage you to go over to Caroline County and take a look at some of the measures they've taken in lieu of what looks like legislative action by the state of Maryland to regulate this, although we don't really know what it's going to say yet. So, is that right? Okay. All right.
And I think it's important to decide, can we protect people between now and October 1 also?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
If we need to do a permanent change, that's one thing, but if we also need to do something temporary just to protect some of our Carroll County people.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Yep. Anything else for open admin?
No, sir.
We're ready for agenda? Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you,
Oh,
Wanda?
good afternoon, I'm sorry.
Good
Wait, I'm not used to starting at 11. Okay, Monday, April 1st shows nothing. Tuesday, April 2nd, 8 a.m. Open session with budget work session. And Wednesday shows nothing. Thursday shows 9 a.m. open session. And there's items under priority. Carol? Item 1, legislative update. Item 2, consideration of annual plan from the Citizen Services. Item 3, grant approval hazardous materials. Item 4, broadband expansion. Item 5, 7 wall-mounted benches. Item 6, air flotation residuals.
That's
That's the
Solved.
DAF sludge,
That's the
Yes.
chicken renderings.
Yeah, that, and
chicken renderings.
we're going to get a presentation from our staff on what they've seen, including possibly what other counties have done right or wrong.
What our ordinance is, and what it does and doesn't do, and then, what do you have options to do and what are the...
Now, we can make a decision then, or this is a start?
I think it will have an opportunity to direct staff to work
So
on
we can
notice
direct
to
staff for the next step.
for a moratorium or something, if you wanted to do that.
And is this something that'll
Thank you,
require
Roberta.
public advertisement and all of that to make it work?
Yes, we would use
You
the
were
same,
adjusting your tie, I didn't want to interfere.
Good thing you took a break there, so...
we'll use the same format we did for the solar moratorium. We did advertising, a public hearing, and an ordinance.
And I think the general opinion is we want to go as quickly as we can.
Yes. Agreed.
We can't advertise it now?
Well, you haven't decided, technically, you haven't decided
Yeah, we need to do next Thursday.
what to do, so.
Yes, yeah, we can't,
We can prepare one just in case, the advertisement and all that.
I think anything we can do to move it
I
as
was
quickly
gonna-
as
We can't make a
possible.
decision in open admin to
I think
request this? Or is it, I mean, I know it's only a week, but it is a week. And
I don't-
we have a process that just takes a longer time than, these folks are, having to deal with. I mean,
Well,
I don't want to say I'm predetermined in my decision, but I do want to say I would like to make a decision sooner rather than later.
I agree.
the decision you'd be making next week is to direct staff to, advertise for a moratorium. I think you need a little bit more information before we can done
Okey dokey.
So remind me again when it would go to planning and zoning then? Or I thought that was the first step.
Well, we would have to make a decision to do,
The
Yes, we would have to
The
do that.
moratorium doesn't have to go to planning and zoning.
Correct.
The change of the zoning ordinance would have to go to planning and zoning. And that's why one of the reasons why you put a moratorium on.
That's after the
To give you
fact.
time
Right.
to
Okay.
develop the legislation.
That is-
and
okay.
Then pass it.
Yeah, that's where I was getting held up. I was thinking solar, we started out with a moratorium, but that's not what we did. We,
Yeah, you did.
We did the
Yeah.
moratorium.
well, we did a moratorium, but then we changed that, okay.
And then you
While
changed
we
the
were
zoning.
making the decision.
Okay, so the moratorium doesn't require
Planning and zoning,
planning and zoning.
right.
It can happen more quickly.
Okay,
I shouldn't say this out loud in this building. I'm not sure what in government happens quickly,
Yeah.
but it can happen more quickly.
okay.
I know, I'm here now. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you
Thank you
everyone
for
for those
clarifying
comments.
Yeah,
so what
gets
item were we on?
Item 7.
even I have to think about it.
Okay, replacement of water service laterals in Carroll Highlands. Item 8, installation residential water meter vaults. Item 9, closure of Babylon Road, which seems like deja vu. Item 10, public safety complex property. Item 11, approval to purchase land. Several different ones. Public comment, admin, open admin, and agenda review. Then there's another open session for a budget work session, and we purposely don't set a time yet. That'll depend on how the other meeting goes.
The morning meeting, yep, yes.
Friday, Battle of the Books, Century High School, Commissioner Rothstein. Saturday, April 6th, Freedom Park, Commissioner Rothstein. 5 p.m., Sykesville Fire 90th Anniversary, Commissioner Rothstein. Thanks for covering us, Commissioner Rothstein. Sunday, Commissioner Rothstein's doing the podcast. But at 2:30, Commissioner Garrett is going to a court of honor.
Okay.
Anything else for that week? The following week, Monday at 7 p.m. is the Vietnam Veterans Day, Mount Airy Town Hall, Commissioner Guerin. On Tuesday, Board of County Commissioners open session for a budget work session. At 1 p.m., Boys and Girls Club ribbon cutting at North Carroll, Commissioners Gordon, Collar, and Rothstein. At 7 p.m., the Ag Center Board meeting, Commissioner Kyler. Wednesday at 9:30 a.m., Farm Museum Board meeting, Commissioner Vigliotti. 1 p.m., joint meeting of Board of Education, all 5 of us. 3:30 p.m., Boys and Girls Club judging, Commissioner Rothstein in Sykesville. And at 5 p.m., Board of Education regular board meeting, which one of us can attend, do not have to. Thursday, 9 a.m., open session. There are items in Pride A Carroll. Item 1, legislative update. Item 2, a public hearing for consideration of streamlined annual plan for Bureau of Housing. Item 3, hazardous materials emergency preparedness grant application. Item 4, broadband expansion. Item 5, more wall-mounted benches. Item 6,
Are there really
Oh,
two sets of
Hold on one
wall-mounted
second.
benches? I can't imagine.
is that a repeat?
That looks like a repeat.
Is that a one or the other?
Yeah.
We've got the same with item 9, the closure of Babylon's on both schedules, too.
And 6.
Yeah, they're all, I didn't,
So,
it's an error.
cross it out the second week?
Item 6 too.
Item 6, is that a follow-up, or is that?
That's the same.
No, it's the same. It's an error.
Yeah, these are all 6, 7, 8, 9,
Water service laterals,
we talked about last.
Yeah.
residual water meter,
Yeah, you talked about them.
6
closure of
on.
Babylon Road. Now it really is deja vu.
Yeah,
Public safety complex.
okay.
That was already, right?
Yeah,
And
These are-
item 11, was already.
yeah.
Also, if we could jump back, take a look at the proclamations from the, or
Oh, yeah.
Priority Carol.
Priority
the same?
Carol. Yeah,
That's a repeat?
Yep.
Okay.
So
I think
My
we're good.
mistake.
we don't even have to meet that.
no
Okay.
worries.
We don't even have to meet that.
I just
We're
was
all done.
feeling like deja vu up here.
It happens.
We still will do public comment and agenda review because we just found out it's very meaningful. At 1 PM, budget work session. It says for 4 hours, and Friday shows nothing. Saturday, Recreation and Parks First Annual Car Show, Commissioner Gordon. And Commissioner Vigliotti has the podcast.
Commissioner Kyler, can you clarify again? I might have missed, but going back to April 9th, at 8 o'clock, we start budget. Was the intention to break for the Boys and Girls Club and then go back into session? Or we're done for the day at 12, at 1 o'clock?
I thought
That's what I
that
would,
was the intention.
okay.
I did
What,
too.
to do what?
But that would mean that, 3 o'clock? We'd be restarting?
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer not to, but I just wanted to check to see if I understood what the schedule was, that's all.
That was the
I don't know
thought.
what the intention was. I very much wanted to go to Pantherplex for the Boys and Girls Club.
No, absolutely. That's why I just want to make sure we're gonna break at 12:30. We'll be done for the day. Is that, okay? Just want to make sure.
Oh,
That's all.
that was not the thought.
That was not the thought.
Right, but it's totally up to the board. What I would suggest is leave it as it is.
Yeah, I
and
gotta
if
be at the
you're-
Ag
if
Center
you're-
at 7, so I can come back here at 3
If
to
you're
6.
moving along and you want to, and the board chooses
Up
to
to
come
you
back,
guys.
good. If not, then we have notice and people can watch. If not, then you can just say at that time, nope, we're not coming back. That'd be my recommendation.
I'm fine either way. I mean, if we go the morning and then and I'm happy to go over to the ribbon cutting as well.
I
And
guess-
if it lasts a fairly long time, then yeah, we'll call it a day.
Motion go into closed.
No, hold up.
Yep. Nice try.
We spoke too long. Chris, do we have a public comment?
Yes, sir. We have a caller on the line that just joined us. If you could use *6, you'll have 3 minutes, and please identify yourself.
Thank you, Commissioner Kyler. I was driving. It's Catherine Adelaide, Carroll County Republican Central Committee. I was driving at the time, so it put me late. So I appreciate being able to chime in at the moment. I think the main thing I wanted to make sure I said to everybody was to wish you a happy Easter, those of you who celebrate Easter. Also, I'm looking forward to Passover. It's kind of strange that when they're not together like this, but I tend to celebrate everything, so I'm looking forward to celebrating that one separately, but to everybody else, wishing you a happy and safe Easter holiday. I did not know until recently that Good Friday is not a state holiday, just a county holiday. I think that's very reflective of the values of this county, and I appreciate that Good Friday is the offices will be closed for Good Friday. The big Central Committee news is we did meet. We're still in the process of filling our vacancy. happy to report we had a robust debate. I'm always concerned when people are afraid to debate for being considered divisive. And in America, the cure for speech is more speech, not shutting things down. So I think it all went very well. We are still in that process, so it's exciting, and I'll keep you updated on that. Just to recap on the pot issue, again, just overall, I was just very happy that there was unity in the board, in the press, that they're not in favor of recreational pot. I really want to just thank you for that. I don't think you understand. Parents read that, people read that, kids read that, and to at least take that stand, you'll save lives. You'll send the message. We really mean it when we don't want our youth to use drugs. I do appreciate that the brakes have been put on, voting on this very quickly when it's such a really life or death issue, that you're taking your time. There are still many people that are learning about this that are just, either elderly, go to church, or too busy. But when they do find out about it, they do want to express their concern about it. So I really commend you for that. Finally, let's see here. I did testify yesterday on, and I don't have my notes in front of me, I'm really winging it here, as the chair of election integrity for the subcommittee on the Central Committee. I actually signed up for the wrong bill, but it turned out to be the right bill. I got the numbers mixed up. It was still an election integrity bill, HB 0333, on disinformation, which was kind of a red flag. And apparently there's a lottery system down there, and only 2 or 3 people got to testify for and against it. Now, the House Republicans chewed this bill down pretty good. A lot of it was stricken out, but I'm sure the word disinformation, this is a very highly charged, politically charged, partisan word. And basically they're going to, if it passes, they're going to install a portal into the State Board of Elections for the public to file complaints against their fellow citizens if they think they're spreading some kind of election disinformation, and it covers every aspect of the election. So it's a huge fire alarm for me, and I did have to. I had technical problems. I couldn't do it, but I got permission to submit written testimony. I've submitted it to our delegation. I'm going to submit it to you as well, just to bring you up to speed on election integrity talking points. I mean, this is at a state level. The bill I had wanted to testify on was more, it was empowering the local board of elections to do things that I didn't think they really had the authority to do. So I'll have to catch up with that later. But this is also a problem bill. If it does go through, it won't go through
please
like
finish
it
your
would
thoughts.
have. Okay. Anyway, just been busy, and wish you all very happy. Thank you for all the work you do, and see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, any more?
That's it for me, sir.
Okay, so I need a motion to go into closed
So moved.
Second.
Or land acquisition.
Motion to go
for
into,
land acquisition, I'm sorry.
motion to go into closed for land acquisition.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Do we need a motion to
Yep.
recess afterwards until 1 o'clock?
Well, to recess until, yeah, it's 12:30, say 1 o'clock. That's fine.
Motion to recess until 1 o'clock.
Second.
And where is that meeting?
Downstairs, if you want to say. That'll be
Not being
in
here,
the
that
Reagan Room 003.
Down in the Reagan Room. A second on that?
Yes. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.